A strange and wicked character emerges in the dark world of criminals, where secrets lurk and shadows play, the Zodiac Killer. This individual was like a ghost, inventing terrifying riddles and strange messages that terrified a whole country. Unraveling a serial murderer's psyche is no simple task, particularly when the culprit teases detectives with cryptic signals that transcend understanding. The cryptograms that have been left behind are like whispers from the depths, challenging the greatest minds to solve the macabre riddle. The stakes are high, and the suspense mounts as we go on a relentless search for justice in order to identify the elusive Zodiac Killer. Who is the Zodiac Killer? The self-proclaimed Zodiac Killer is directly related to at least 5 murders committed in Northern California between 1968 and 1969, with 2 more victims surviving despite terrible injuries. He may, however, have been responsible for further murders. From 1969 until 1974, he ridiculed authorities and made threats in letters to local media before suddenly ending correspondence. He claimed to have slain up to 37 persons in that email. Despite many investigations and various ideas about the killer's identity, no one was ever apprehended for the killings, and the case is still unresolved. The killings mystery has been the topic of various novels and films, including filmmaker David Fincher's famous 2007 film Zodiac. Letters, Symbol, and Cipher of the Zodiac Killer. The San Francisco Examiner, San Francisco Chronicle, and Vallejo Times Herald all received an identical handwritten letter in an envelope with no return address on August 1, 1969. The letters, which began with "Dear Editor, I'm the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman," revealed facts about the Zodiac murderer's killings that only the culprit could have known. The murderer then threatened further assaults if the letters were not published on the front page of the newspapers. Each letter was sealed with the sign of a circle with a cross across it, which became known as the Zodiac Killer's emblem. Each letter came with one component of a 3-part cipher that he claimed concealed his identity. While Bay Area police forces and the FBI worked tirelessly to apprehend the murderer, another letter came to the San Francisco Examiner. Beginning, "Dear Editor, this is the Zodiac speaking." It detailed the killings and mocked authorities for failing to decipher his code or apprehend him. Donald Harden, a high school teacher, and his wife, Betty, solved the cipher a few days later. "I like killing people because it is so much fun," he said. "It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." 3 days after the 4th recorded Zodiac assassination, that of cab driver Paul Stein in 1969, the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter claiming responsibility. It was written in the same irregular print as the Zodiac's earlier letters, and it was accompanied with a bloodied strip of Stein's shirt. The assassin pondered at the conclusion of the letter that he would next shoot out a school bus tire and pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out. The Zodiac Killer resumed his mocking contact with Bay Area publications, including news ciphers, claiming to have committed numerous more killings, and mocking the police for their failure to apprehend him. The letters ceased in 1974, but the inquiry continues to this day. Victims. The Zodiac Killer has been officially linked to 4 different crimes involving 7 persons. On the night of December 20, 1968, 17-year-old David Faraday and his 16-year-old girlfriend, Betty Lou Jensen, were shot to death beside their automobile in a secluded site on Lake Herman Road on the outskirts of Vallejo, California. Police were perplexed, unable to identify a motive or a suspect. Darlene Ferrin, 22, and her boyfriend, Mike Mageau, 19, were sitting in a parked automobile in a similarly distant Vallejo spot early on July 5, 1969, when they were approached by a guy with a flashlight. The person opened fire on them, killing Ferrin and gravely injuring Mageau. Within an hour after the occurrence, a man contacted the Vallejo Police Department, telling them the location of the crime site, and claimed responsibility for both the assault and the Faraday and Jensen murders in 1968. Despite fingerprints, Mageau's description, a decrypted cipher, and a slew of tips and leads, authorities were unable to apprehend the Zodiac Killer. He attacked again on the evening of September 27, 1969, attacking young couple Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell as they sat on a secluded stretch of Lake Berryessa in Napa County. He tied them up before severely stabbing them, scrawling a message for police on their vehicle door, then fleeing the scene while wearing a hood and a shirt with a circle cross insignia. He then contacted the Napa Police Department to confess. When rescue personnel arrived, Shepard and Hartnell were both in serious condition but alive. Shepard, on the other hand, died of her wounds soon after. On October 11, 1969, the Zodiac took another victim, 29-year-old cab driver Paul Stein, in San Francisco's Presidio Heights district. Because the murder did not seem to follow the Zodiac's pattern, it was first classified as a robbery until the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter claiming responsibility for the killing. At least 5 more killings have been attributed to the Zodiac Killer, including the shooting deaths of Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards near Santa Barbara, California, in 1963, and college student Sherry Jo Bates in Riverside, California, in 1966. Zodiac Killer's identity, theories, and possible suspects. Police were able to produce and disseminate a composite drawing of the perpetrator using accounts from witnesses who saw a guy fleeing the scene of Paul Stein's 1969 murder. Despite accumulating evidence and other individuals being investigated, the Zodiac remained at large. No suspect has ever been apprehended more than 5 decades after the Faraday-Jensen killings. Law enforcement has been frustrated by their failure to identify the Zodiac Killer. The mystery surrounding the Zodiac case has also continued to captivate the public, inspiring several speculations about the identity of the perpetrator. Claims that he was Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, convicted killer Charles Manson, or that he finally migrated to Scotland and committed additional murders before finding peace and giving up his evil ways range from credible to ridiculous. Other theories include Arthur Leigh Allen. True crime novelist and former San Francisco Chronicle cartoonist Robert Graysmith authored 2 books on the murderer, Zodiac, 1986, and Zodiac Unmasked, 2002, eventually naming Arthur Leigh Allen as the most probable culprit. Allen, however, died in 1992 and was never definitively linked to any of the killings. Earl Van Best Jr. Gary L. Stewart wrote The Most Dangerous Animal of All in 2014, claiming that his father, Earl Van Best Jr., who shares a striking similarity to the guy in the police sketch, was the Zodiac Killer. Louis Myers. Another individual came forward in 2014 to say that before his death in 2002, a buddy called Louis Myers admitted to being the murderer. Certain occurrences in Myers' life mirrored those associated with the Zodiac. However, as with Allen and Van Best, there was no definitive evidence. Multiple assassins. According to the 2023 Peacock docuseries Myth of the Zodiac Killer, the killings were committed by numerous persons. This much information in a cold case is extremely unusual. However, if you read all of the police files, you'll notice that there's very little connecting these crimes, series director Andrew Knock told the New York Post. Different weapons, different methods of attack, different victim profiles, even eyewitness statements, different locations, or trophy taken from one but not the others. If you've been gripped by the mystery surrounding this tragic episode in real crime history, don't forget to subscribe, like, and press the notification button.